Everybody knows. Welcome to the JJ Carroll Show. We all know. We all know on some level. We all know on some level that everything is a lie. Nothing makes sense. We no longer care how we sound because we know we sound crazy. Because what we're trying to discuss is craziness. We're trying to rationalize irrationality. We're trying to have a discussion about things that are absurd, that could never happen, but are happening. And we all know it. All of us on some level. Either we're real busy and have kids and we're struggling to make ends meet, and we know a little bit because we know that something doesn't make sense to people like myself that spend all hours of the day researching this stuff. And there's people that are on the inside that know it definitively that it's all a lie. That it's all a lie. I gauge a lot of what I see, and I try to place common sense over it. And if common sense does not explain what they're doing or not doing, then I know something's wrong. If there is something that I would do differently, or how would I react? Not that I'm perfect, not that I am making the right decision, but I don't make decisions in malice. I don't pre-plan. I don't strategize. I just am. I work my ass off. I plan to get better. What do I need to improve? How do I need to articulate myself better? Can I use better verbiage? Can I use better videos? How do I grow my business in law enforcement? How do I become more effective in what I'm doing? How can I be more efficient in my arrest techniques? But never do I sit around and wonder or plan or strategize how to hurt people. How could I be more bad? So I ask myself, 9/11, for example, let's go through a couple things that were on that video. 9/11, would I remove all the rubble as fast as I could without going through the evidence to finding everything? No, I wouldn't. Charlie Kirk, would I concrete over the crime scene within 48 hours? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. Would I, as a law enforcement veteran, a guy that was in senior leadership and a guy that did the job, not as a public information pogue, but a guy that was down in the trenches, that's in the trenches today, would I just take a text from the quote shooter of Charlie Kirk to his furry lover and say, man, that sounds like AI. I better look into it. And I don't. Would I ever do that? No, I wouldn't. Would I ever allow a foreign country like Israel to determine if America, goes to war or not? No. No, I wouldn't. Everything is in the matrix. Everything is a simulation. Everything is a play. And I know you watched that video, and I thought the video was amazing. AI is absolutely incredible. And I know there's times where you're watching that, if you go back and rewatch it, like I have, it kind of really catches your breath. Is there a group of men and women making malicious decisions to harm Americans and America? Yes, 100%. My last year in the United States Border Patrol as a senior leader, I watched all of, and I mean all of, Joe Biden's executive orders cascade that first year before I retired. I watched treason happen, and I watched the intentionality of the borders being completely blown open. in allowing 30 million people to come into America. I watched as we released everyone. That was not bad policy. That was a welcome mat. Now, why would your government, my government, our government allow in 30 million people into our country? Unvetted, 60 to 70% of them single adult military age men from the continent of Africa and the Middle East, Haiti and Venezuela. Who are we at war with right now? We saw 4 to 5 terrorist attacks happen in the last week. This is just the beginning. These are just lone wolves. You're going to start to see cells pop off. The longer this war goes, the more probability that these cells are going to pop off. And when I mean pop off, I'm talking mass destruction, fear. Why would I bring in those people and allow them to reside in America? Why would I do that? The American dream has died. Let me take it down to my personal level. I am very big on my son and myself that we have complete ownership of our lives. 100% ownership. Are there things, I tell my son, there are things that you're going to have no control over. There are things that are going to happen to you that are going to suck, and you're going to be like, I have no ownership of these people and what they did, but they hurt your life. You still have to own your life. You have to figure this out, son. But the old days, like my father used to say and my mother, son, all you have to do is work hard. You have talent. God has given you talent. You have to discover, accept, and accentuate your talent. But that is through hard work, and that means long hours. That means saving your money. That means taking risk, but always working hard. It's America. You can do it. Does anybody feel that way today? Does anyone feel that way today? What my America is leaving to my son and to his children is a nation teetering on economic collapse. The very moment the rest of the world wakes up and makes a decision to get off the petrodollar, it is over. We will become Zimbabwe within a day. We can no longer print money. We're spending money as it's like a drunken sailor. We're giving money to overseas. I had a discussion with a young lady today when she's like, I don't understand what you're saying as far as the government stealing the money. And I said, they send it overseas because when it's overseas across our international boundary, there is no one that is accounting for that money. Who is accounting for it? No one. So they can launder it, they can hide it, they can run it through the laundry machine called the NGO system. But in America, it's easier to track. But you can't track money in Afghanistan. You can't track money in the Sudan, in Haiti, in Venezuela. But you sure as hell can launder it. We have taken the American dream of hard work, ownership, property rights, and we have been stripped away because we have brought in our replacement, and our replacement's children will replace our children. By the time at this trajectory, by the time my son is my age, he will be about 25 to 30% of the population in America. He will become a minority in a non-majority nation. Now, all of you historians out there, all of you people with an inkling of common sense, What does that mean for America that there is no majority? Better yet, let me ask you what happens to a nation where there is no majority? What happens? Eventually, one of the minority groups or groups together, and they become the majority. And then they will brutalize the minority. These are not people that are coming to our country. They're the country that they're in now and believe and share and celebrate our values. They disdain America, disdain her. What do you think they're going to do to your children and to your grandchildren when they gain power? Imagine 30 years from now. And I want you to think of the House of Representatives instead of an Ilhan Omar, a Jalapal, a Perez. Instead of those three illegal aliens and Dalia Ramirez, the fat Guatemalan from Illinois, instead of those four, you have 190, 270 foreign nationals just came off the boat or one generation. How do you think America handles that? You think that's not possible? Are you that naive? You have massive enclaves of legal and illegal immigrants living in America, balkanized, and they are beginning to take over House seats, state and Senate representative seats, and it's just a matter of time. Because we do not, as an America, as a nation, as a politicians, as a government, we do not have the stomach, we do not have the intestinal fortitude, and we don't have enough strong alpha men right now that will remove these savages from our country. One day we will. But every single day that we do not eradicate our nation of the 50 to 100 million legal and illegal immigrants in our country is a day that when we decide to take back our country, it will be a day that is more violent, more bloody, more chaotic, and more nation changing. Do I want this? No, I don't. Do I expect it? Do I look down the road and say, yes, that's where we're headed? Absolutely. Look at what our nation, our world has become. Look at what they being the elites, the people that run our government, I want you to understand what kind of nation they have created. This man, this savage right here, was just released from Chicago jail. I want you to listen. He's got two hammers. I want you to watch this. There's multiple reasons in this video that I want you to recognize, and I want you to see if you can find it. But listen to him. Listen to his rant, his racist rant of killing white people. This is all over America now. This is the nation that the people in charge have allowed to happen, and the very soft, impotent Americans have allowed to happen.
I ain't lying about shit I see. I just got robbed by dyke white bitches. Every black bitch and nigga that kiss ass to the white folks, I'm gonna kill them for real. I'm gonna kill your bitch ass for real right now. The problem on the red line, we finna solve this shit. Mississippi nigga and bitch kill ass the white folks. I'm finna get rid of this shit for real. A white bitch still on the machine, we can do better. I'm finna kill that shit. Do not lean against the door. And I just got out of Stateville Penitentiary 2 days ago. I'm finna kill for real. Every slave mentality that gets had the white folks is finna die. I'm solving the problem of the red line here for real. I'm solving the white Holocaust red line here. I'm solving the white Holocaust for real. I'm killing whatever's white on the.
It's talking about killing white people over and over and over again. Doesn't say anything, but I want you to see something. I want you to see this. They don't care. They're unfazed. Why? Because this is the reality that these two people live in. They live in a reality that their nation sucks. They live in a world of violence. They live that it's so normal. I want you to let's play this game of let's go to an alternative universe. Let's go to, well, there's no white anymore, places that have subways because no one wants subways or public transportation anywhere near their suburbs. Why? Because these people show up. But let's play a fantasy. Let's go back to 1950, 1970, 1990. And these are two white people. And the other person sitting across from them is a white person. And a crazed black savage comes on the train with two hammers and is talking about killing white people. Would there be a franticness about them? Would that man, being white American, sit there like a dumb piece of garbage and just allow him to do this? The answer is no. This would be the biggest story of the day. But because of the world that we live in, because what we have allowed our gutless third world politicians, old pasty white guys that are doing dog parades in the Senate, we've allowed our nation to descend, to devolve into this. And we have people that look like that. If I was on that with my wife, I would have taken those hammers and I would have broken his skull open with them. And I would face what would ultimately happen in Chicago. That's why my wife with my son are forbidden to go to any major metropolitan city in America. Forbidden. My wife and son were in Florida this weekend. I said, you are not allowed to go to any black gatherings at all. You are going to drive an hour out of your way if you have to, but you will not go anywhere near it. Somebody sent me a text earlier today, and I said just that. And I said, after I said that, I said, listen, I need you to understand, I don't care how racist that sounds or how racist my words read. My son, who is my world, and my wife, who I love very much and created a life with, they are more precious to me than whatever racist term you can throw at me. I will not ever lose my son or my wife to insanity. I'm not playing this game. I'm not rolling the dice with the loves of my life. Not doing it for you or for anybody. And you may call me whatever you want, but I'm not living in this world anymore. I refuse to. I refuse to be ruled by incompetent, corrupt, vile, evil people. I refuse. What's the world we live in? And we all know, some more than others, of what's truly going on in the world. Here's an interview with Tucker Carlson and Joe Kent talking about why are we in Iran? It's hard. It's very hard for me to play these type of videos. Why? Because I'm watching one of the greatest opportunities to reset our country and to get our country back to where it needs to be being squandered, being compromised, when I would never think that this group of people would be compromised. Oh, how wrong I am.
I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. How did you reach that conclusion?
I think this is key. I mean, this would be more challenging to explain had the Secretary of State, the President, and the Speaker of the House not come out and said that we conducted this attack at this time because the Israelis were about to do so. So that takes away the argument that there was an imminent threat, as in Iran was planning to attack us immediately. That just simply did not exist.
May I ask you to pause? Sure. And so I've heard people say that, and this just happened, but history has a way of getting rewritten in real time. And then you look back 10 or 15, 20, 25 years later, and no one seems to understand the things that you saw because they've been eliminated. Yeah. So I think it's important to stop and say, here's what we actually know. So I'd like now, if we could, just to play one of the statements that you alluded to, and that's from Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. And this was shortly after this war commenced. And he was explaining as is his habit, in a thoughtful, precise way, why. Here's Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
And so the president made the very wise decision. We knew that there was going to be an Israeli action. We knew that that would precipitate an attack against American forces. And we knew that if we didn't preemptively go after them before they launched those attacks, we would suffer higher casualties and perhaps even higher those killed. And then we would all be here answering questions about why we knew that and didn't act.
Okay, so that is his almost contemporaneous explanation, and it's not offhand. He reasons it out. He explains there's a logic chain there, and he says, we knew not that Iran was going to attack. He did not say that.
Right.
He said we knew that Israel was going to attack Iran, and in retaliation for those attacks by Israel against Iran, Iran might attack American forces. So the imminent threat that the Secretary of State is describing is not from Iran, it's from Israel.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to the broader issue. Who is in charge of our policy in the Middle East? Who is in charge of when we decide to go to war or not? In this case, with what the Secretary described, and later on the President, later on the Speaker of the House, and the way the events played out, the Israelis drove the decision to take this action, which we knew would set off a series of events, meaning the Iranians would retaliate. Now, I think there's a potential there where we could have done several different things. We could have simply said to the Israelis, no, you will not. And if you do, then we will take something away from you. I think that it's fine that we offer defense to Israel, but when we're providing the means for their defense, we get to dictate the terms of when they go on the offensive. Otherwise, they stand to lose that relationship. And the Israelis felt emboldened that no matter what they did, no matter what situation they put us in, that they could go ahead and take this action, and we would just have to react.
We would just have to react. We all know what's going on. And we play this stupid game of not knowing, acting as if, oh no, everything's fine. Everything is fine. Everything's not fine. We're in a massive war, spending close to $1 billion a day. I'm driving home through Kansas City, Missouri. What an absolute dump of a city. Run by a Democrat mayor for decades. It's a physical dump. Trash everywhere. Everywhere. Why does our country look so physically bad? Have you driven around cities? Have you looked at the trash everywhere? Have you looked at graffiti? Have you looked at the roads? Have you driven over potholes on the interstate? The interstate. The answer is very simple. We spent, these are the conservative numbers from our government. We have spent over 10 trillion. Try to wrap your brain around what I'm saying. In the wars, the Israel wars in the Middle East for the last 3 decades, we have spent over $10 trillion. We have built, rebuilt, built, and rebuilt other countries. We would have been able to repave every one of our interstates, highways, back roads, rebuild all of our schools, all of our hospitals, all of our airports, not had anyone in America have to spend or give their income tax to the federal government. We would be in the economic boom. Could you imagine the jobs of constantly and consistently repairing all of our infrastructure and making sure it's gleaming, the trash is picked up, our jails are built properly, there's enough of them? But we don't. Why don't we? Well, we all know a little bit of why not. We all know why, some more than others. I'm learning. I have people that DM me and email my show and say, I've just started to see the light. I'm not knocking you. I think I'm somewhere in the middle to a little bit over the curve, but I'm still learning every day. But I still apply common sense to layer over top everything that I'm witnessing, everything that I'm seeing. And nothing, and I mean nothing, makes sense. Nothing. One thing that makes no sense to me, and it's been this way for my whole entire life in the Border Patrol and in immigration, and that is the reason, the idea that we need to import tens of millions of very, very hateful immigrants into our country, legal and illegal. We all know a little bit of why. We all know that it doesn't make sense. Here's Victor David Hansen, who I very much respect, a man of wisdom, talking about the ungrateful immigrant. Look at what our nation looks like. Look at what we have done to our nation. Look at the people that we have invited into our home. They hate you. They hate the food you're serving. They hate your home. They hate your clothes. They hate your wife. They hate your children. And yet we still bring them in and we still try to cater to them. We still try to make their lives better as our life begins to deteriorate at a rapid rate.
To talk about a very controversial topic. I call it the ungrateful immigrant. You know, it used to be in the United States that immigrants were our great strength. We all saw maybe Elia Kazan's America, the story of his uncle's struggles to get to the U.S. and how much he worshiped the country when he arrived here. I just interviewed Max Nikias. He is the former president of USC. He came with nothing from Cyprus, and he has a new memoir out, American Trojan, about how lucky he was to get here and how he worshiped the United States. That was sort of the general perception that we had of immigrants. Think of Silicon Valley. I mean, Tesla, SpaceX, eBay, Stripe, Sun Microsystem. I could go down the list. They're all created by these wonderful legal immigrants, but that's changing. And I'm not talking about the 500,000 illegal immigrants who were known to have come across with criminal records. I'm not talking about the truck drivers, thousands of them that were given licenses even though they did not qualify for a driving competency test, even though they didn't know English, even though they have been involved in a number of lethal acts. I'm not talking about the Somali fraud. That's self-evident. Thousands of Somalis were involved as payback to arriving in America, and to us, their magnanimous hosts. They paid us back by what? Embezzling up to $9 billion. I'm not talking about Ilhan Omar and her anti-Semitic remark, it's the Benjamin's baby, or labeling and vilifying the United States as trash. That's all self-evident. What's new are legal immigrants and naturalized citizens, as if they become almost, they have a schizophrenic idea. They hate the country, but under no circumstances do they want to leave it. Just in an 8-day period, a week ago, we had in Austin, Texas, a Senegal naturalized citizen went into a beer garden and opened fire, killed 3 and wounded a lot of them. At Old Dominion University in Virginia, a naturalized immigrant from Sierra Leone came in and he shot the ROTC instructor and yelled Allah Akbar. All of these were Islamicists, although you won't find that very readily in the mainstream media. Out in front of the New York mayor's mansion, there was a protest against Islam and a counter protest supporting Mondami, and 2 naturalized citizens, one an Afghan, one parents from Turkey, they brought 2 IEDs and tried to, they said, surpass the Boston Marathon bomber of 2013. Remember them?
I remember them. Do you remember them? The ungrateful immigrant. Somebody invites you into your home and you destroy it. I've traveled all over the world. When you go to someone's other country, they don't tolerate any bad behavior. They just don't. I don't care if it's in Tanzania, Kenya. I don't care if it's in India. I don't care if you're in a first world country like Germany or you're in the backwaters of the third world. There's an expectation that you are going to behave in my home. Look at exhibit 1,590,000. And this is a woman, get her name right. I'm not going to, Karen. I'm not making it up. Karen Spilka, a Democrat Massachusetts Senate president, comparing my brothers and sisters in ICE to the Nazis killing Jews in the Holocaust. You can't make this stuff up. Do you begin to understand the world that we live in is changing rapidly and we are losing?
It's not public safety. They're using fear to divide people and destabilize communities and destabilize states at the same time, especially the blue states. This is to create fear, and we
Can I just stop there just to point out 2 things? Why are the left, the women of the left, why are they so unattractive? Honestly, that's a fair question. Like, I can understand if I just showed you 10 leftist women and, 5 or 6 are very attractive. And I'm trying to point out, look at these, no, I'm showing you 10 and I'm showing you 10 that are extremely unattractive. And it's because they're unattractive inside. Listen to her voice. She's the president of the Senate. Demonizing law enforcement, putting her voice, her words are putting our agents and officers in the direct line of death and bodily injury. That's not hyperbole. That is just factually the truth. All right, I'm gonna play the rest of this, Karen. It's like what, 30 seconds? Okay, let's do it.
not accept that. We reject that unequivocally. I have to say, moment, what is happening across our country reminds me of what my family experienced in Poland in the 1930s, leading up to World War II.
Are you trying to tell me that in Germany, I mean in Poland, you had 50 million illegal aliens and the Polish were trying to remove them, or Germany came in and wanted to remove 50 million illegal aliens? Is that the comparison there, sweetheart? Yeah, I didn't think so. I have my weekly guest who is on, I bring in every week to talk about sat123.com. And I promised myself that I was not going to bring him in on a Karen or some type of hot take. So I'm going to bring him in a good one. And this is Dana White. And even though it's a not negative, but he's talking about American freedom and talking about what you need to do to be free, what you need to do to be successful in America. It's only 30 seconds, but dear God, everyone should hear this. Everyone.
Freedom is only one generation away from extinction. All you young people that are watching this right now, you don't want anything from the government. The only thing you want from the government is for them to stay out of your business. That's it. As less government as absolutely possible. If you think the government is ever going to take care of you and make all your hopes and dreams come true, you are out of your mind. It's not how it works. It's not how it works. Freedom.
It's not how it works. And that is the point that I want everyone to understand. The only way we're getting out of this malaise, out of this corruption, is we take our country back. Because freedom is only one generation away from dying. We're living it. We're living it. Dana White is a prime example of knowing what you want, having the freedom to create. And now he is extremely successful, extremely wealthy, has power and influence, but he once did not have it. That's the America that I and many people want to maintain, bring back, if you will, the opportunity for the American dream. And that is through hard work, dedication, and risk that you can achieve anything. Anything. That's how great our country used to be. On that note, I want to bring in my mate, Chris from sat123.com. Chris, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, mate. How are you today?
Good. It is getting extremely, extremely hot. I can't believe it. 2 days ago, it's snowing and about 13 degrees. Today, it's in the 70s. Tomorrow's in the 80s. Is it that way in Colorado? Are you warming up?
Yeah, we're about 85 degrees right now, mate. So it's,
holy, is this crazy winter?
Yeah, no, it certainly is. And that's going to present another whole bunch of problems. We don't have enough to deal with, right?
I know. And I bring you on every week because your company is the sponsor of my show, sat123.com. And I just want to highlight, like, my pitch when you're not on the other 4 days, my pitch is very simple, Chris. I want my audience to just go to sat123.com/JJ. You can throw the JJ if you want. Just go to sat123.com and just look at the products and ask yourself, do you need it? My wife and my son are coming back as I speak from, quote, their spring break trip. They needed a mother-son kind of trip. They have their sat phone. He has his ballistic backpack. There was shootings in Florida where he was at, right around his area. And I have the opportunity to be able to call on a sat phone if I need it. That is what I want my audience to try. Just go to sat123.com and look at the products that you offer. So I want to talk today just about what my family's using on their trip, and it's the sat phone. And I believe that's I think the most important thing you sell outside of your ballistic backpack is the connectability that I have the opportunity and the resources to contact my family whenever I need it. That is that important to me.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, look, especially with what's going on right now, obviously everyone's very aware, or some more than others, but we're in the middle of a conflict with an enemy that is, they're not stupid. They're not badly funded. They're technologically smart. They're aggressive, and they don't care who they hurt, including their own people, mostly, right? We've all seen how they slaughtered thousands and thousands of their own people for having the audacity to protest. But look, they're coming after many other countries around the world, and we're included in that. And I think one thing that, is of note is that earlier this month, we saw for the first time drone strikes take out data centers in Bahrain and the UAE. And that was smart and also very effective, because I believe the AWS ME1, Middle East 1 region was, parts of it were affected entirely. So this was, a very cheap way of just doing massive disruption. And companies like AWS that provide a great service and infrastructure have, also provide that here at home in the US. And there are several regions, I think 3 regions in the US. And if one of those came under attack, like the ones in Bahrain and the UAE, we would see devastating effects here at home, because these data centers run by these hyperscalers, they run everything. They run the websites, they run utilities, they run communications. There's nothing that they're not involved in. I mean, when we saw, I think it was late last year, AWS East 1 region go down on the East Coast, that took half of the world's websites with it in one way or another. That's one data center, right? So don't think that Iran's not looking at that. These data centers are set up to be prepared for things like floods and fires, not drone strikes and missile attacks. In today's world, if you're not protecting your infrastructure against potential drone strikes and missile attacks, then you're wide open. Sadly, that's where we're at. So when you attack infrastructure, what happens? Communications go down, cell towers go down. And this is, by the way, in conjunction with a massive effort to disrupt all of these vital services from these terrorist hacker groups. And there are plenty of other people cheering them on and helping them. It's not just Iran. Iran has friends, who hate us too. So everything is under threat. The only thing that we can do as individuals, like you say, is not sit around and wait for the government to help us out. They're busy trying to take care of the bigger stuff. We need to be prepared with independent communications, and satellite phones are not affected. If you take out power stations and cell towers and networks, satellite phones keep operating. They run directly with the satellites, and a sat phone can connect you to any call or any phone that's working anywhere in the world. And without communication, you can be dead in the water. You don't know what's going on. You can't reach out for help. So it is, I always say, the number one thing that you need to have. I'm very glad your family has those phones. Every family should have them. For a long time, these phones were $1,000, $2,000 or more, unaffordable to most people. But at sat123.com, we started doing them for free with activation a few years back, and we are still doing that. And today you can get a free sat phone like this. For just this phone would cost you about $1,300 to $1,500 anywhere else in the world. We give it to you for free with activation. You're paying just $85 a month, and for that you get 150 minutes to call anywhere, anyone on earth.
And when you use that phone, I can call my cell phone. I don't have to call another sat phone, correct?
Absolutely correct. Yeah, of course you can call someone else with a sat phone, but you can call any landline or any cell phone anywhere in the world that's active, and you can also send a text or receive text to or from any cell phone anywhere in the world. And the one advantage of a sat phone is there is no country, there is no different rate if you're calling from here to Iran or Iraq or whatever, or you're calling down the streets. 1 minute is 1 minute wherever you call.
I think it's amazing, the technology and the advancements, but at the same time, we become so reliant. Like you're talking about AWS, you're talking about, we think of cell towers and communication platforms. We're thinking, oh, my cell phone, oh, my internet. No, you're absolutely correct. It's everything's tied to it. Our water system, our electricity, all communications. It's all encompassing, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's not just like AT&T has all its own data centers and runs all of its own stuff. Everyone's dependent on everyone else. And these hyperscalers like Amazon, they do a great job. I'm not knocking them. But the thing is, so many of us rely on them, one company. So when their infrastructure is hit, all of their customers are hit. And their customers include not just individuals and corporations, but the government. The U.S. government relies very heavily on Amazon. I believe they have their own private data center just for government business. I forget what it's called, but so we're all leaning on them. Even foreign governments are leaning on Amazon, right?
Yep.
So when they that's why they get targeted, and if they get hit and they get taken out, they get disrupted. The effects ripple around the world, and everything relies on technology. You turn on the tap, you turn on the lights. Technology is involved in that somewhere, and that technology and those networks are being targeted by Iran actively right now.
I always just say every single day on my show when I talk about SAT-123 is just be prepared. Go on the website, look at the products, look at the Sat phone for free with your monthly subscription. I think that's a fair deal. $85, you spend that in a couple days on coffee and garbage. Just be prepared. Mate, thank you very much. We'll talk next week. I hope it gets really hot and miserable for you in Colorado. All right, brother. Always good to see you. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.
All right. Take care. Cheers. I always feel better when I talk to Chris. I always feel better. Sat123.com/JJ. Sat123.com/JJ. Go there and see what you need. I love it. Sat phone, $1,500. You get it for free. You just activate your phone for $85 a month, and you have peace of mind, absolute peace of mind. And I love that the lead in to that was Dana White. Hey, the very last thing that you want in your life is government. You don't want government in your life. You need to ask somebody about government in your life. Have you ever gone and spoken to a Native American? Have you ever gone onto a reservation? Ask them, how's that government helping? Now, they're complicit in many, many ways, but how's the government helping you? Go ask any veteran, hey, how's your health care run by the government? Go ahead. I'm going to show you this guy. I can't believe this guy's alive. I can't believe this guy's alive. Mitch McConnell. Look at who's running our government. He's about literally a few months shy of Moses's top age. He's at least 480 years old. Listen to this man. Tell me, are you happy? Do you feel secure? Do you feel as if your voice is being heard and that you are being represented well by this man who's like a great grandfather? He should not be in a position of authority and power. This man can barely stand up.
Peter, I always enjoyed calling our colleagues' attention to longtime Senate staff as they notched milestones of service in our institution.
What the hell did he just say? Did he just pull a Biden? I have one word, a shalaka-shalaka-fack. Come on, America.
Well, today, I'd like to reflect for a few moments on a longtime advisor who's an institution in his own right.
Okay. He just spoke for about 25 seconds. Look, I can say a lot of words in 25 seconds. He said maybe 40 words. He just moved his paper. That means that is how large the print is. That's how large the print is for him to read it. It has to be like on 90. The font's on 90 in bold. We all know, don't we? We all know what's wrong and we don't say it. We don't say what's wrong. We just don't. Here's something else we've been quiet about until recently, and that is the belief that this man and the country he represents and the people that are in that country are our greatest ally. Listen to him as he disparages our Savior, Jesus Christ. This is like yesterday.
Safeguards the future. You know, if people want to be naive, then they don't see the kind of world we're living in. In this world, it's not enough to be moral. It's not enough to be just. It's not enough to be right, you know? One of the greatest writers of the 20th century, someone that I admire a lot, was the historian Will Durant. Now, he wrote many volumes. I read most of them. He also wrote The Lessons of History, very brief, 100-page book, in which he said, well, history proves that, unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. Because
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on, Mr. Jew. Hold on. Genghis Khan wasn't nailed to a cross and then rose from the dead to heaven. Genghis Khan is not the Savior, the Son of God, the Holy Trinity. I want to play this again. This is your greatest ally, America, smirking when he compares Jesus Christ to a more dominant Genghis Khan.
unfortunately and unhappily, Jesus Christ has no advantage over Genghis Khan. Because if you are strong enough, ruthless enough, powerful enough, evil will overcome good. Aggression will overcome moderation. So you have no choice. If you look at the world as it is today, you have to be blind not to see.
We all have to be blind not to see that these people, the Jews in Israel, are not God's chosen people. They're not God's chosen land. There was a piece of geography created out of whole cloth. And I am so tired, and I'm angry at myself. If I sound very angry, I'm angry at myself. Why am I angry at myself? Because for decades, I believe this absolute bullshit. This absolute evangelical bullshit that Israel is our greatest ally. The people that hate my Savior compare him to a false prophet boiling in semen and excrement, listening to the leaders of their people say that Genghis Khan is more powerful than Jesus Christ. Have you effing had it yet, America? Have you had it? Can you wake up from your slumber and understand the world that we live in is chaotic? It's a world of lies. It's a world of half-truths. It's a world of propaganda. It's a world of violence, degradation, and evil. Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. And our president, who I voted for 3 times, is neck deep in that shit. If we do not change our ways on multiple fronts, this is what our country's going to look like. And if you think that this is hyperbole, if you think that I'm being over the top, you're a fool. This is what America is going to look like in the very near future. Don't think for a second that is not what we're looking at today. Go to the side of the street in New York City and tell me it doesn't look like that. Wake up, America. You know, I know, and they know what's happened to our country. It's time to fight. It's time to take your country back.